What is up, my fellow Degens? I'm Nerd Boy, and this is episode 57. This is our Dynasty show, and we are covering all the off-season noise. So everything that's happened, all the guys that have been moved, anything that shifted, and all the good stuff in between is going to be covered tonight. And then we're going to introduce the boys. So what's the Degens cook?
19, swear to God, I'm taking over 19. Hey, back.
Man, I hit the rookie intro there. I was like very confused. I run the two shows back to back, usually on Thursday, and I was like, "Oh, baby, this is we're gonna get into rookies right now." And yeah, man, I had the trigger finger, so I messed up on that. What's up, boys? How we doing? Dane, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Happy to talk about some free agency frenzy, and we got a new guest on tonight. We got Dustin joining us.
Yeah.
What is going on, guys?
Yeah. So this is Dustin. Dustin is actually new to the pod, and Dustin is new to the Dynasty team in general. So he's going to be doing his own little thing. We're going to have him filling in on guest little solo trips over here, but also he's going to be running his own pod at some point in time. And we're going to be talking about how we're going to chef that up and get it, I guess, going on Degens and then through Player Profiler now. So we're pretty excited to have you on, and then obviously just get going on things and try to have another person. Our free agency this year has been incredible. Not the NFL, but the Dynasty Degens free agency has been incredible. So we've added two new faces to Devi. We are doing a new redraft show. We have another Dynasty show coming. We have the Rookie Profiler series. Yeah, and it just keeps coming, man. I got a couple other things on the stove right now. So, Dustin, you're the first time, I guess the first time you've been on Dynasty Degens in general. Tell people how you got into Dynasty in the first place. Like, what is your first experience with Dynasty football?
It's actually kind of funny because I backed my way into Dynasty fantasy football. So this last combine was 20 years for me, where I really started jumping in and looking at players, following the combine, following draft capital as like a 15-year-old kid, So I got introduced to fantasy, your normal, I think my uncle got me in a league, etc. But I was just obsessed with players. And it got to the point where I would scout these guys, and I'd have them on my team. And, a Nico would hit a rookie year, Kamara, Puka. And then the next year, I don't want to pay the price for this guy in redraft, And I messed around a couple years with keeper leagues. And then about 5 years ago, I jumped into Dynasty. And, I messed around the same kind of stuff, home leagues. And it was 2 years ago I found Player Profiler and FFPC leagues. And I just jumped in. I went in superflex, tight end, premium, the whole bit. I bought an orphan, jumped in 5 minutes before a rookie draft, no first, no second round pick. I just threw myself to the weeds 2 years ago. And, it's an obsession for me now. There's nowhere else I'd rather be than with the Degens.
Yeah, I feel like you have to learn your trial by fire. Essentially, you get in there, your first Dynasty league is not fun. I mean, it can be enjoyable from your side of things, but then when you actually learn what a Dynasty league is, you're too far gone, typically. You're no value of any picks. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to move around on a board. You don't know how to move around players. And, you're learning as you go. But once you actually know what you're doing, you messed up a million times over.
Oh,
that
yeah.
you made the worst decisions, and you have to kind of live by them. And if you're lucky, you can get out of that pretty quickly. Or if you have enough guidance and help, you can typically maneuver that a little better than normally. But my first dynasty was awful, man. I was moving guys for seconds that were worth a first, and really had this idea that I was going to build this dynasty by all picks, and it was just like no foundation players or anything. And I mean, it's been going. This dynasty league that I'm talking about is 12 years old, I believe, 13 years old at this point. And I just, it gets to that, like, once a dynasty is around that long, you don't even have anybody to drop. Your team is, every player on your team is excellent. It's just, if a league lasts long enough, you don't have anybody to move, and you can't trade with anybody because everyone's team is so good. You almost have to like delete dynasty leagues after a while because everybody just becomes the best team that they possibly can be. Like if you're staying in for 10 years or so, that's why, I mean, you don't see it anymore. That's why dynasty leagues have such a bad rep, because it's, the community, everybody in general doesn't have the wherewithal or the patience to stay in a dynasty league for more than 3 to 4 years. So people are always like, well, it's a rebuild. And I'm like, I don't think your dynasty league is going to be around long enough for you to actually win some money in this league. So you can't get lost in the shuffle either. But talking about being lost in the shuffle, I don't even know where to start with free agency. It's just been constant moves, and the legal tampering situation going. It's nice. I mean, but to unravel it all, I think every dynasty show this week has been talking about it ad nauseum. But I'm for it. I want to talk about it. I know you guys want to talk about it, but let's kick it off. I guess the first thing that we can talk about is Davante Adams to the Rams, and that is juicy to me, because I think everyone anticipated Cooper Kupp getting moved. So that was just always anticipatory, like you knew that Kupp was being let go. He was going to be traded, cut, whatever. And Adams was going to be jumping into that spot. Dane, you like that move for the Rams, and then for Davante Adams, obviously having Stafford be revived, I think it's really just like juicy all around. But how do you feel about the move right there?
I do. I really like it for both sides. I think Adams brings that element that they wish Kupp would have, but clearly Kupp, in my opinion, is washed now. We've seen that McVay can utilize 2 receivers in that offense. Stafford certainly has the play style to target both players as well. So yeah, I'm stocks up on Adams, and I think that's going to be great for the other pieces like Puka and Kyron as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree that Davante Adams is a step up from Kupp, but I mean, at this point, you're saying that Kupp's cooked. I don't know if I'm going to say that fully. But what do you think, Dustin? How do you feel about Kupp? So we're in agreement. Obviously, Davante Adams upgrade. We like the move for the team in general. I think he really works well with Puka. I think it's just going to be a pretty good mix as far as the way that they're playing, and it's going to work well. But for Kupp, how do you feel, Dustin? You think Kupp is done, or do you think he still has a couple of good years of fantasy in front of him?
I really think he's entering into his old man game doesn't age, or excuse me, old man game ages well phase. Larry Fitzgerald style. Like I just feel like he needs to be schemed a little bit differently. I don't think you could run him like a workhorse. But yeah, I think we can get another year or two. He's going to get paid. It was just reported, I think 5 teams right now that are looking at him. I want to talk about Devontae Adams, though, because he went on a stretch last season. I think it was the last 5 weeks. He ended as the wide receiver 9. I mean, the man went 85 for 1,063, 8 tutties, 17.2 fantasy points per game. He was 9th in yards after the catch, 5th in target share, 3rd in red zone targets. And, the Rams had the largest target funnel between just those two wide receivers. Between Puka and Kupp, they had the most amount of target percentage in any offense. So I just think it's the same stuff we saw last year, except for some of that DeMarcus Robinson stuff is going to go to Adams.
Yeah, I agree with that. We see Stafford elevate players that aren't good at all. We see Stafford make guys relevant that should have never been relevant in the first place, and then we see them move off of Stafford and then fall off, like Kenny Golladay. Like we saw him with Stafford and hyper targeted. He was a dynasty wide receiver 1, and then he moved off and moved to a different team. And I don't know, Kenny Golladay lasted 2 more years in the league after, I guess, an early retirement. But, it's perfect. And Adams is a way, way, way above what Kupp is currently. And I just think it's a really good fit. They upgraded with, it was still a hefty contract, but worth it, especially when you're looking at what Kupp's trying to get. Kupp's looking at like 12 right now. I don't know if he's going to get that, but I would take what was Adams' contract? I think he's getting paid 15 a year or so.
I think they said the guaranteed money was basically a swap. I think it was something like between 10 and 12 million when it was said and done.
Yeah. That's easy money. I would definitely bet money that Adams is still productive towards the end of that contract. All right. So, we like that move. I think I got a couple shares of Devontae, a couple shares of Kupp at this point. But I think if Kupp lands on a Patriots team that's thirsty for playmakers, dude, he's still mid-range wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside. And I know Dane doesn't like that, but when he's landing on a team that is in desperate need of a wide receiver 1, I'm definitely tapping on Kupp way late. I think he's going in like the 12th, 13th round at this point in dynasty startups. So, all right. I know we got to talk about it, and it probably isn't going to matter in about a month or so. Javonte Williams to the Cowboys. Obviously, Rico Dowdle is gone. He's sharing the backfield with Chuba Hubbard for the next 2 years at this point, because I don't think we're ever going to see Jonathan Brooks back, at least healthy and in a stable role for another at least year and a half or so. How we feeling, boys? Like, is there a possibility that Javonte Williams has a resurgent year, a show me contract year, and he just, we see the Cowboys. We thought he was like, they were locked in to get a rookie running back last year. And they just punted the position, and they rolled with Rico. And it benefited them, I think, to a degree. But is there a possibility of them doing it again this year? Dane, you think that he's got a role?
So I think my Bronco fandom comes into play here. I had really high hopes for Javonte Williams once he came out of North Carolina and got drafted by the Broncos. Obviously, he didn't have that burst after that gruesome knee injury that he had. So that played into effect. Sean Payton didn't do him any favors by getting him on the field. He lost a lot of his shares to Jaleel McLaughlin. That being said, yeah, I think
if you're getting played over with Jaleel, you might be a Jag, but
yeah, I think that might be the case, and I think that this is kind of the next chapter in Javonte's life in the NFL career. I think he's going to bounce around in the future on multiple teams on deals like this where he comes in and he's serviceable and he's kind of giving that main back a break. But I don't think he's ever going to end up getting the timeshare that we all thought that he was going to get when he came into the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys seems like a likely spot to see one of the, I guess, the top tier, but they also have a couple needs. Dustin, how do you feel about Javonte? Do you think he's somebody that you like to hold, or just this is the sell window? This is when you need to get rid of him?
I feel like he's probably a player that I'm going to hold either way because the sell isn't going to net me really what he's worth on my bench. I find it really intriguing just because of the offense. I was big on Brian Schottenheimer's dad, Marty, when he was with the Chargers. Like, I grew up watching LaDainian Tomlinson. That's why I fell in love with football. So, like, within the scheme, I mean, he has the receiving upside. I'd have to pull it up, but I think it was something like 74, 72 targets last year. Just absolutely ridiculous. You know, and with the type of knee injury he had, like very similar to Nick Chubb in college, you know, it's almost like the year after type injury. You know, I'm not saying any of this is going to happen, but I mean, if some of that athleticism comes back, if like 80% of that missed tackles, forced rate comes back, and then you add on his skills as a receiver, I mean, there could be something there. Like, I missed out on every point that J.K. Dobbins scored for damn near free last year, and this just feels like that to me. So I'm going to hold whatever shares I have.
I don't know if I'm going to say that J.K. Dobbins and Javonte is – I've watched Javonte completely lose all of that explosiveness because what we loved about him was that first step, that burst that he had. Without that burst, he never had long speed, you know? So, like, once you take the burst and the explosiveness out of a player without long speed, you're kind of left with not much, man. You know, like, he's still physical. He can still pull a pile, I think, at some point, but he doesn't – I don't know. He feels like
Here's the thing that I gotta ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you're a 1% athlete like that, to be able to do those things, and if you're not right in your head, if you don't mentally believe you can, coming off an injury like that, I feel like it's going to show on the field. That's why I feel like some of these injuries are the year after, like, you know, the high ankles, the leg fracture. Physically, those guys are there, but mentally, they're still dodging and weaving. They're not playing football yet, you know?
Yeah, you didn't even ask me a question, though, man, so I'm kind of disappointed, but we ride with that. So we got SC. He's asking Javonte Williams or Aaron Jones. I'm taking Aaron Jones, man. I'm going to be real with you right now. Like, I can always say, okay, we're going to get some guy that is going to get a staff that believes in him. And I don't know if Javonte Williams is that guy. You know, I think he could get some volume at some point in time, but I'm tapping Aaron Jones over Javonte Williams. Aaron Jones just feels like a Kamara-esque guy that could probably play until he's like 33 years old. He just has that play style and he has that build. He's like slender, you know, he's definitely like muscular. He's a PPR back. Like, I just feel like those guys, that little genre of Kamara, Aaron Jones, they still have a couple years of good football left in them. What do you guys think? You still taking Aaron Jones, or Dustin? I feel like you would kind of have a crush on the resurgence of Javonte Williams. Like, would you take Aaron Jones or Javonte there? You're muted, brother.
Oh, here we go. My bad.
There you go. You're good.
You played the rookie song, so it works perfectly, right? But I don't know. Aaron Jones has burned me a few times in the past. I would probably take Aaron Jones, though. I mean, he just got the contract. He's on the Vikings. I mean, there's just so much up in the air with Javonte. The only reason I'm standing behind those shares is because most of them are free off orphans, and I'm not selling him for a fourth.
Yeah. Dane, Aaron Jones. What are you guys doing with your muting the mics, man? Like, where are we right now?
Oh my.
How do you guys do that?
I don't know, man.
At the same time?
I'm taking Aaron Jones. Durability has been an issue, but he does put points on the field. And with Javonte, that's kind of an unknown. And that's why I would be leaning Aaron Jones in this situation.
Yeah. I mean, Shane is talking about the money. The money doesn't make sense for Javonte Williams to be that guy. I think there's a very real possibility of the Cowboys just saying, all right, we're going to get our guy that we're going to build around. They have Dak, obviously CD's over there. I think they've shown that they're fine with rolling out a CD and then filler, which, I don't know if I agree with. I think they still need a solid 2 over there, but Ferguson is overlooked, I think, as a tight end over there. I mean, yeah, there's no way that they're going to pass up on this running back class. I think they could take somebody in the third that could easily outproduce Javonte Williams if given that opportunity. But let's move it on to another running back that I think I'm excited about, even though he still has been somewhat of a, I'm not going to call him a disappointment because I think he's definitely one of the most disrespected fantasy guys. Like, he's not ever going to give you that otherworldly, like, he's not going to catch 1,000 yards or, he's not going to give you like monster weeks or anything, but he's super consistent and he never misses a game. And that's Najee Harris. Like, he just, you want to dislike him, but he still is there. He's always there, and he still produces at a mid RB2 level. And he always seems to get 1,000 yards every year that he plays. And now he was playing behind a pretty good, I think it's a top 10 run blocking offensive line, if I'm not mistaken. But we saw J.K. Dobbins have a resurgence. Obviously, he resurrected his career. He's probably going to get a nice little contract for a team that is desperate for a running back. But Najee Harris and the Chargers, Dustin, how do you feel about that?
I'm actually getting pretty excited. I was crunching down some numbers on Player Profiler and taking a look at J.K. Dobbins and Gus Bus. And I was really shocked to find out that their total carries were only about 20 more than what Najee handled by himself in Pittsburgh last year. Because I was trying to figure out, okay, like if I give Najee their workload, what does this look like? And it came out to about 1.8 points a game, which could push him into like low-end RB1 territory, honestly. I'm pretty excited.
Okay.
Yeah. You like that move, Dane?
I do. I really like the signing. I think Najee is the perfect back for Harbaugh's scheme. I think he's going to get tons of touches. And one thing that I'm really excited for is Najee hasn't ever played behind a quarterback like Justin Herbert, right? He is a dynamic quarterback, and they're going to spread out the field. They're going to have the passing game that's maybe going to thin out some of those boxes and allow Najee Harris to get some big runs off of it. And we might even see a little bit of an upgrade in his receiving game. So I'm excited, and I'm actually going to be waiting till after the draft to be going to buy my Najee Harris shares because I think they do draft a running back. And like you said, the community seems like they're always trying to find a way to hate Najee, but he's durable, he's reliable. It ain't pretty, but he puts up production for us. So that's when I'll be buying him.
Yeah, so if they are, I think they're not going to go. I could see Loveland going in the first round over there, or their tight end of the future. I think that's a Harbaugh move. And then in the second, I don't know who's going to be there. Obviously, a lot. There's still going to be like those mid to. I think there's probably going to be maybe almost 3 running backs going in the first, but they could have an option of looking at, I guess, like Samson or. Yeah, we could say Samson. Like, would Dylan Sampson make you move off of Najee? Is he good enough Dane, for you to just say, oh, I'm probably going to fade off Najee?
No, I really think that Najee is going to be the lead back there. And like I said earlier, I'm going to take advantage of when the community sees a rookie go there, they get hyped and everybody forgets about Najee.
Man, my boy is on the stream. Yes. Dude, I thought it was
That's my man.
I thought it was we were training. We're doing some training right now for the baby, man. I'm surprised that you're out and about, man. I'm gonna don't let your
I slid in DMs earlier.
Yeah, I think Samson would be great there. You know, I think there's a couple of guys that I would love over there, but yeah, I mean, it depends. Najee is Najee, you know. I think they run enough where you're right. You just told me the splits for JK and Gus Bus, and if Gus was more of a, I mean, we're gonna obviously say that Najee is not Gus at this stage of their careers, so he's got more to offer a team. I mean, there could be a nice split, and we could still be looking with the way they run the ball. Yeah, I think they could support 2 running backs over there, because you're not getting Najee anywhere. Like right now, he's a startup pick in the 10th round. This move probably moved him up 8 rounds, so he's still only looking at like an 8th round value for Najee, and that's like in the mid second range, like mid to late second range, I think is where Najee's going. So yeah, I think that still feels okay at the moment, but I don't know, man. Like all these guys, there's these guys that could just command a large share of carries and a large share of the PPR work back there. So I'm cautious. I'm like very optimistic, but I'm pulling, myself back a little bit as far as my expectations for him. But let's kick it over to your team, Dustin. The Steelers, they still are looking at no quarterback right now, but they signed and they got DK on a long-term deal over there. How's that fit going to work? Let's start with you, just because I feel like there's a lot of emotion attached to this move. How do you feel about Pickens and DK together, and how do you think that's going to work over there?
Yeah, it's not been fun the last couple days, like free agency going on, moves happening, no quarterback. But I don't mind the Arthur Smith offense. I know he gets a lot of slack, but I felt like he was trying to operate it with a bunch of misfit toys last season. So I'm looking for a lot of those looks that were going to Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson. Those are going to be easy button throws in that offense, and they're going right to DK. Up over the top, he's gone. And I know you guys know about Pickens in college. He wasn't a sail route, go route guy in college. He was getting moved all over the field. He was routing guys up. He was a contested catch monster. So, I mean, I think they have all the right pieces. I don't mind Mason Rudolph even. I really agree with what we were talking about before. I think we need to get Dart. I think they're bringing in a rookie. They couldn't be more blatant about the way they've gone about it, honestly. Bring the rookie in, have a backup that's going to push them, but they didn't want to spend the money and, guarantee that second starting year to Fields. So,
yeah, I think the move then when you make that kind of move and you are trying to build up the receiving core like that, you have to provide them with a stable general. You can't just make that move and then say we're going to throw in a Dart or, I don't know, like a show or somebody that like they snag up, and I just can't do it. I can't see the Steelers doing that either, just because they're one of those teams that can never not compete. They'll never say as an organization, we're gonna kind of just like slow play it a little bit, and build up the roster. And DK is not there. I don't think he signs on and he signs off on that move if they had that in their minds, so I think if you get a Dart, you have to couple that with a Rodgers. And even though Rodgers is probably not any better than Dart, at least Rodgers has an understanding of the NFL offense, and he understands how defenses look and packages are, and he can at least get you through 6th, 7th games, and then maybe they move it over to Dart if they, if it needs to happen. I'm not saying that Rodgers gives them a better chance to win, but I think for the development of a guy like Dart's not ready for the NFL. Dart is ready to sit back a year, and he needs to hone in on his deep ball accuracy. He's got to learn different packages. He's very raw. I'm a Dart guy. I love Dart. I think he's hyper intelligent. He knows how to kind of just maneuver, and he gets it, but it's not going to be like an easy fix that you just throw him out there and have him run. He's not going to be a Jaden Daniels by any means. So I don't know. It's peculiar because they don't have any options right now. Like I made a joke post that they were going to trade for Joe Milton, and every Steelers fan loved it. They were like retweeting it and saying, "Oh, I would love this." Like they had never watched a game of Joe Milton in their life. And I was like a clip of his one game that he played against Buffalo's like 3rd string defense. And I was like, he was bombing it, dude. He was running on them. And I was like, these guys were on the couch like 3 weeks before this game. So, it is what it is. But there's the options are what? Russ, Rodgers, or it's like the late round guys like Dart, Jalen Moreau. I would love Jalen Moreau over there.
Jameis Winston, maybe.
Yeah. If you had Moreau back there, and then you had like a Kirk Cousins to kind of ease him in, and I would enjoy that. I would enjoy Moreau to DK and Pickens, and then just like getting the hard knocks over there and having Moreau and Pickens and DK all in the same locker room. That's I would watch. That's watch TV.
You can
add Rodgers to that one.
Yeah,
right?
You throw Rodgers in there.
Yeah, exactly. You can have enough ISO cams on that team if they got Rodgers. Because like you said, Rodgers would try to command that offense. He would tell Pickens to run a route, and you would see right on the screen Pickens just say, "No, I'm not running that." But I do think this is problematic getting DK, because what we've seen from Pickens so far in the NFL, they're very similar wide receivers. So if they're always going to be running deep balls, our defense is going to lean towards playing a cover 2 and just take them away. That might be one option, because I do think it was easier.
You can play cover 2, but I think people are forgetting like how good Rome Wilson is. I like Rome Wilson a lot. He's coming back this year.
And
Calvin Austin. I feel like there's like I don't know, Freiermuth. Like I feel like there's enough like intermediate guys to keep them in check.
And I don't
know.
Well, that's kind of where I was going with this. So if defenses cheat and play a cover 2, that's going to open things up for Jaylen Warren if he's the starter. If they draft another running back, opens things up for Pat Freiermuth. It kind of molds into what Arthur Smith likes to do as a play caller. But I think for DK and for Pickens, it is a difficult situation to navigate. But for PR reasons and hearing the sound bites after the game, I think it would be amazing to have DK, Pickens, and Rodgers all on one team.
Yeah. And to touch on that a little bit, we talked about Najee. Obviously, Jaylen Warren is the one over there right now. Do we see some CPAT? Do we see Patterson come out and just like, man, I would love to see a CPAT resurgence. And but that's another running. They're going to take a running back at somewhere. Well, they tendered him, right? So they don't have a 2nd round pick. They traded it for DK. Am I wrong on that? They traded this year's 2nd round for DK.
Believe so.
And
I'd have to look into it.
They only have a 1st, so they pretty much would have to take a running back in the 1st, or they're not going to see one until the 3rd round. I mean, there's still options in the 3rd round, but I mean, you're probably looking at somebody that is looking at Jaylen Warren's status. Once you get to that point, you're going to have 2 guys that are fringe like committee backs at that point. Yeah, I would actually love this Savion Williams. I think
Yeah.
if you're into anything college, you know his transition. You've seen him play. I think he fits the Arthur Smith offense very well. I don't know.
I saw
There's
something intriguing when I was looking up some stats. We have Evan Hall in our running back room. We picked him up somewhere.
I don't know why you think that's intriguing.
He was nothing in Indy.
Yeah, I know that, but why is he's behind Patterson? He's our RB3. That's why I thought about it. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, I think he just got cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely a small percentage of people that thought Evan Hall was going to be something. At least the two behind JT. So something
that was a pipe dream.
I mean, hey man, you got to hold on to these guys. Like we saw guys pop off that have been taxi squad kings for the last 3-4 years. Obviously we looked at the 49ers situation where everyone was going down. Some of those guys, man, like you either got them off the waiver or you had them on your team for 4 years before they even, produced for you. So it's like, you never really know what you're going to get.
That's why they call them lotto tickets, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we're looking there, obviously following the quarterback situation and then looking at the running back situation. Like there's so much stuff that can happen on that one team that just changes the whole landscape of fantasy. Like if I'm looking at that offense with Mason Rudolph or looking at it Aaron Rodgers, I look at it in a different scope for sure. But I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know what the gap is. I don't want to be a Rodgers hater. I like Rodgers as a quarterback still. I think he's still got some juice, but like, I don't know how much of an upgrade he is from Mason Rudolph at this stage in the game. And I hate saying that, like I think arm strength is probably the same. I think Aaron Rodgers is hyper intelligent when it comes to the game. So it's like, I'd obviously prefer him, but not by much, not by the bag that he's probably going to look for as far as, that 1 year contract, 2 year contract that he wants. But to keep it on quarterbacks, Sam Darnold went over to Seattle. Man, do you guys would you take Sam Darnold or Geno Smith, Dane?
Geno.
I
think what Geno did behind that line last year, that was atrocious. He still had unreal success. 8th in success rate, 13th in EPA per dropback, 3rd on target rate, 5th completion percentage above expected versus explosive rates. Like he did great behind not much. He got the ball out the 11th fastest in the league last year. So that's why I would take Geno over Darnold.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at an offensive line that was, I think, bottom 15 easy. Wait, sorry, do you have the offensive line rating over there that Seattle had last year? Either way, they're back. They're back 10. They're low, and they only got worse this year. But and then obviously you're looking at DK gone, and then I mean it's just JSN at this point. And you imagine they're probably going to pluck a couple guys with the picks they've acquired. And I don't know, Dustin, would you rather take Geno or Darnold in Dynasty? Like not even talking about NFL value or anything, but like as far as the fantasy goes, who do you think is going to outproduce who this year?
I've been pretty heavy on Darnold. I was riding him last year just because he was flying around in leagues any third for Darnold. I'm pretty in on this Kubiak system. I mean, we saw some bombs away in the beginning of the year with the Saints. And I'm an old head coach guy. So like as soon as I see Kubiak, I'm going outside zone. I'm going, we need a dominant X receiver. So like I really think they're gonna hit this draft heavy with this extra capital that they picked up. I think JSN will be the one for sure, but I could see them snagging like a Tet, a Harris, a Higgins, a Beck, somebody to be that Demarius Thomas, for that offense.
So Harris, I was kind of hoping that JSN would slide into that Olave role and we would have Trey Harris kind of play what Shaheed did under Kubiak last year. My problem with that for Darnold is he held on to the ball the third longest out of any quarterback last year, only behind Hurts and Lamar. And now Kubiak wants to run a little bit faster system than that with the O-line that they have. Do we start to see Darnold regress from the Vikings more back to his Carolina days where he couldn't make those progressions? And if they are playing more of play action, he has to make those reads. He has the arm talent, but I think it's going to be up in the toolbox that's going to make or break for Darnold this year.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. It feels like fool's gold right now. I'm applauding that team as a whole. The Vikings really got Sam Darnold paid, and I think he definitely needs to buy them something nice. The offices over there probably got something in the mail from Sam Darnold at some point with that contract that he got. But you're looking at an offense that can they don't necessarily get a quarterback in like to a system and they try to make him learn the system. They get the quarterback and then they build around that quarterback. And what we see with JJ McCarthy right now is he's on a rookie deal and they're building around his strengths. They're building a team and they understand what he's capable of. And they're taking guys, and just like Darnold, they're like, we can make him good and we can take this guy. And everyone's like, you're going to go in with Darnold. And it's like, nobody in their mind thought Darnold was ever going to lead this team to the playoffs, never mind to have a borderline like MVP season, but when you have guys like JJ and Addison who work off that first step, that first step, you're talking about progressions. When you have guys that are high ends with their footwork, with their stem work, when they have the ability to work through that stem and get out the separation that we talk about in the high end wide receivers, Addison is by far one of the cleanest. We talk about Emeka Ibuka, like Addison has the cleanest footwork I've seen in a long time when it comes to his route running. He's very efficient. He doesn't have to use a lot of steps to get that separation. So when we're talking about looking out for progressions, Sam Darnold didn't have to go through any progressions. Like he had these guys 1, 2, and then you had Hawkinson in the middle, and it was just like that was a wide open offense. He's not going to see that in Seattle. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to see to just look and he's got 3 different guys that he can throw it to. I mean, even if it's a rookie wide receiver, these guys are going to take some time to adjust to the NFL. And I just hope that Darnold isn't inside of his head by the time that they have made the adjustments, because we could see it unravel for a Darnold real fast. And we saw it on the Jets where when he starts thinking negatively, like he is gone. He is like seeing ghosts, man. He's throwing a couple picks and then you can see it in his body language. You can see the way that he's moving, like he's done for it. So the way that the roster looks right now, I don't even think I would take Mahomes on that. Well, I would, but like, I wouldn't take a very good quarterback with that roster and just say he's going to succeed, because it just feels gross, man. But they're not done yet. So I have to wait to adjust to that. But I don't know. So you're going to hold Sam Darnold, Dustin. You want to keep that guy, right?
Yeah.
Are you saying Darnold, given the contract, and if people feel that way, that he could definitely boost up in value? Because I think you could probably get a first for Sam Darnold right now.
Maybe. I think that time's actually passed. I think the time, if you were going to sell Darnold, you probably should have done it when he was a Viking. Because everybody knows now that DK is gone, the weapons aren't there, the O-line isn't there. I think that we're already going to see Darnold's price start to drop.
I don't know, because I mean, all that really has to happen is they get 2 stud wide receivers in the draft. You know, if we see like a Jaden Higgins and then they tap somebody early on, like they have a couple seconds right now, they could probably get I don't know, in Alec in the second round or somebody of that nature, and they're looking at Alec and Higgins, and then they have JSN. And all of a sudden they have 2 pretty high end wide receivers with another guy that's can work in the middle. And it's like, that's better than what they had. I would take Higgins over DK right now, straight up. Better route runner, has the long speed. I think if they got him with a second rounder, I think that he's going to have a much higher ceiling than DK has right now. DK is a fly route specialist, and he's definitely somebody that works on physicality. You have somebody that's nuanced routes, and he can get out there in multiple different ways and in multiple different levels of the field. I don't know, man. I think that offense looks better than it did last year.
I 100% agree with you on the DK take.
I like DK too. I do. I just think that
Higgins is fire.
He is he's very limited he's got a small box to work with, you know.
Van Jefferson routes.
Yeah. All right. So one more quarterback that made a decent splash and probably has some big fantasy impacts is Justin Fields. So Justin Fields moved off from your Steelers and he is now on the Jets. All right. So we can talk about Fields for a second, but let's talk about the positional players that are affected by this, because I think everyone on Twitter, everyone that's been over there on X or whatever, has been seeing the Garrett Wilson post and the negative posts that are attached to the Fields signing. How do you guys feel about Garrett Wilson with the news of Justin Fields? Dane, I'll go to you first.
I think Garrett Wilson will have a slight regression, but I think overall he's gonna be just fine. He might not be scoring as the wide receiver 1 that we want him to be, but I don't think it's going to be too big of a drop off. I mean, we might even see Fields hyper target him just like he did DJ Moore in the 1 year. One thing I'm really excited for is to see if the new OC Tanner Engstrand, there, I think I said it right, can go and kind of settle Fields down, kind of like how he worked with Goff when we saw a lot of his success grow in Detroit. So it'll be interesting to see what will happen with Fields once he gets there.
Yeah. I know you're a Fields guy, Dustin. Do you like this move for the positional players? We'll talk about Garrett Wilson first, then we'll get into Breece Hall after that.
Yeah. I mean, whenever Wilson was being drafted, they asked him, what would it be like if you played football with Justin? And he said it'd be a dream come true, you know? And in 2 years in Columbus between Wilson and Fields, he had targeting Wilson, Fields had 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 133 passer rating. So like by far his best quarterback play in his entire college career. So I honestly think, like you said, that's going to be the easy button for him, you know, to settle him down is just to have his go-to guy, and then they can build an offense around him. I think the thing with Fields, he's never had the same voice in his ear 2 years in a row. It's been a coach, a coordinator, you know, a different location. I mean, just even the thing that happened with us last year, 4-2, you know, he had some turnovers, but 2 of the picks and 1 of the fumbles weren't his fault. And then he gets the rug pulled out from under him. So, I'm really excited. You know, this is another one of those teams. I think they're going to run the outside zone. They're going to smash it. Everybody's running the 2014 San Francisco 49ers Colin Kaepernick offense now, it seems like. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Wilson might have a comparable season to his rookie year. I don't think he's going to be like a set and forget it wide receiver one, but I think Wilson has the capability of seeing 8 to 9 targets a game on average, and then I'll have a couple games that he's hyper targeted. And it's, you're right. Like I think Fields needs somebody to manage his emotions more than anything else. Because like Darnold's, Fields gets too lost in the sauce. Like he gets too lost in anything, like when you're doing whatever that you do. If you are in a high stress environment and you make a mistake, you feel that in your stomach, you feel that in your chest, you feel that in your head, and then it unravels because you feel that emotion, that anxiety starts to get a hold of you, and you start not moving the same way and not going about your business the same way. I think everyone's felt that, but this is just a higher stakes, more intense environment where you're at game speed and you feel that, but then you're on to the next play, like 20 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever it is. You're constantly just trying to shed that. He's got to get better about kind of reeling that in. You know what I mean? If he fumbles, he recovers it. Like he can't lose it. And that's a lot on the coaching staff. Like Justin Fields is still a young kid. You need somebody that can mentor him and help him out. And I think he landed in a good spot, man. I think the coaching staff is solid over there as far as his development goes. And he's got a bad rep, like he was okay last year. He adds a different element to that team. I think the rushing actually helps Breece Hall. When you have a rushing quarterback, those lanes, you're already setting a defense to block, like you have the safety set up elsewhere. You know what I mean? So you're running that fake or that handoff, and then you know what I mean? You can run it so many different ways than they were doing it last year. When Breece Hall had one of his worst statistical seasons as far as production in the NFL goes, aside from the year that he got injured. I think he has a better year by a long shot this year than he did last year. I think he's probably going to be looking at solid back end RB1 numbers. Do you guys like Breece Hall this year? I mean, I like him much more than last year. Do I think that he's at the level that he was his rookie year as far as the value goes? No. But I think he's definitely somebody that I would prefer. Like, let's say you have do you want just next year, do you want Breece Hall or Chase Brown, assuming Chase Brown does not get somebody in the draft?
Breece Hall.
Yeah. This isn't a dynasty question. This is okay, if you're in a redraft league, who do you want producing for you? Breece Hall or Chase Brown? Dustin.
Not a Breece Hall guy. I'll take Chase Brown. Give me a plus.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're just like talking, okay, this is pure production. Obviously, dynasty, you're gonna take Breece Hall every day of the week. But I think it's close, like
I'm not taking Breece Hall any day of the week.
So you're that far gone on Breece Hall.
Yeah.
Is that because you have had bad experience with Breece Hall, or you just don't like what you see from him from a profile standpoint?
So I like to take a macro look at some of this stuff from like an NFL perspective. So, fantasy, he scores points. That's cool, But last year I was completely out on him. I traded him and Pittman for Jay Jetta in the summertime. And the number one thing for me is that field. There has been more Achilles and ACL tears on MetLife Field, if you look at the last 5 years, than any other location in the NFL. That's why one of the reasons I was out on Breece and Rodgers last year. And then he got hurt again. And I mean, with the running backs they drafted last year, Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen are your perfect 1A, 1B grinder satellite back plus to run the outside zone. Hall's due for a contract next season. I'd have to look, but I believe he's never rushed for over 900 yards in his career. So just from an NFL perspective, with this running back class coming, the fact that they drafted 2 guys last year, knowing that this running back class is coming, I just don't see where it's at for him, at least in New York, for the future.
All right. I mean, I see your vision, man. I don't necessarily agree with
Nobody does.
the outlook, but if you hit on Breece Hall not being a productive member of the Dynasty community in the next year or two, I'm going to clip this and save it for you for sure. We got Sweaty dropping a question for us. So it's a 14-teamer. Obviously, everything's different in a 14-teamer, but we got Christian Watson, Komet 305, or Khalil Shakir. I like Komet this year a lot in that offense, in that Ben Johnson offense. He always gets the best out of his tight ends, but dude, Khalil Shakir looks like the wide receiver one of that team, man, in Buffalo. I mean, I think I'm going to take Khalil Shakir. What do you about you guys?
Yeah, I agree.
Watson's not going to be a factor this year. After that
Watson,
injury,
I don't think is going to be a factor. He's an ancillary piece at this point in time. So.
That's right. I think right now in a 14 team, what can I do with that third? And I do agree. I think in a Ben Johnson offense, Komet is going to come up. I'm probably going to take the package on that side. I'm a little bit higher on Komet, and I think I can go and get something with that third round pick. I don't know. Shakir.
In a 14-teamer, I feel like at third round, we're talking about really it's a mid-fourth.
33, right? Something like
that. Yeah. I mean, I think we got a couple Shakirs, and then we got one for the package. So take Shakir, Sweaty. Do it.
Shakira.
All right. We're going to talk about the quarterback controversy in Indy. But in the meantime, I'm going to kick it over to the Podfather because we are going to clip it over to Fast Draft. So if you guys aren't fast drafting right now, definitely do it. They have quarters. You can do the Origins draft, which we're going to hear about right now. And if you go over there and you don't have a profile on that yet, you can go to promo code Degens and get a $25 deposit.
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now. So why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Jimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies and use your favorite player profile or host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
All right, boys. So I think my favorite thing of the offseason so far has been the quarterback controversy of Anthony Richardson. And everyone's like, who are they going to bring in? Who are they bringing in to go to war with Anthony Richardson? Who are they going to bring in for competition, and who's going to possibly replace him? And they bring in Daniel Jones, baby. Danny Dimes is going to go to war with Anthony Richardson. And I like this matchup, dude. I really like those two going head to head. I think that it's going to be a sweaty battle, and I can't wait for the discourse on the timeline all offseason, all summer long about, Jones made this throw, and then we got Anthony Richardson bombing it 90 yards, and it's going to be such good content, man. But where are we with that? Do you think that Anthony Richardson is the starter day one, week one of the NFL season? Dustin, I'll go to you.
I think it's going to be really interesting. Of all the quarterbacks they could have picked, Dimes' game is over the middle, and AR struggles there. So I'm excited to see what the give and take in the pool is between the two of them. But I think AR is going to ascend this year. I was there whenever everybody trashed Josh Allen and said he wasn't good at football and he couldn't throw and you can't get more accurate. And then he focused on football in the offseason. He stopped partying. He got a coach, mechanics coach. And I'm not saying AR is Josh Allen, but if you look on playerprofiler.com, there's one or two people that are comped to Josh Allen, and AR is one of them. So if he can harness those raw abilities and the tools, I mean, he's the QB1. The kid put up like 40-some points in 3 quarters. He just hasn't played football. He's been injured. He had a labrum tear last year, too, and nobody talks about it. He had surgery, in the offseason for a labrum tear. But, yeah, I'm all in on Richardson, but I feel like Dimes might actually be the floor play for that offense.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, Richardson's has that ability to elevate an offense, to make that comeback, to put the team on his shoulders. He also has the ability to just, like what we talked about. We touched on Sam Darnold, we touched on Justin Fields. He unravels, and it's just that ability to stopgap the emotions and then hit the restart button isn't with these guys, isn't like their emotional development isn't there. And you do have to be mature emotionally to be a quarterback in the NFL, because if you're not matured emotionally, you're not going to ever go to the next play, get to the next read. You're never going to just progress through a game. You're going to get stuck on that moment that sets you back, and it's going to keep setting you back over and over again. And I think this competition could bring the absolute best out of Anthony Richardson. Like they are both, man, like you said, like their play style is a little similar. But just like the way that they maneuver in a game, they couldn't have gotten a better duo to be on the practice field together.
And that was the point of it, right? To make it a stylistic fit so that offense doesn't have to change, because both quarterbacks, in my opinion, are going to be playing games this year. And if AR fails, it certainly isn't because Daniel Jones was brought in and made AR fail. That's going to be on his own accord. I do think you guys nailed it, that AR really has to mature. He is raw. This is his first offseason where he's finally healthy. So maybe he needs a little bit of humble pie and realize that the NFL isn't college where it's not an easy button and he's got to take that step forward on his progressions. I was doing some work on him today and I was laughing because the only thing I could think of when I was reading these two names over and over was the meme of the two clowns fighting on the basketball court, because that's what I think it is. I don't think this team is going to be pass heavy. I think it's going to be wheels up for JT. And that's kind of where I'm at. I have no faith in this Colts team with those two quarterbacks.
I don't either, but it's so juicy, man. And I love talking about it. Do you guys have the polls for per game on these two quarterbacks so we can just compare and contrast? As far as, I'm not looking at the season because they both had cut short seasons, obviously. But I don't know. Do we have an ability to look at the stats, just a per game basis of last year? Because I feel like the numbers are going to be almost identical.
What are you looking for exactly? Like completion percentage?
Look at completion percentage. We could look at drop back rate. We could look at sacks, interceptions, like any metrics that kind of scream out unstable quarterback.
So like Daniel Jones had 63% completion percentage. He only scored 14.2 points per game, which is 25th as a quarterback. He averaged 26.45 yards per game rushing, and he had an EPA of 17.2, which is 37th best in the league. Like, it was atrocious. He was truly awful before he got benched and ultimately cut. Richardson was the same. His EPA was even worse. It was 13.8, and he scored 15.9 points per game. I don't think he can hit the broadside of a barn, and he truly relied on his rushing too much, which led to his injuries. Whether that was AR making his own calls behind center, or that was Steichen's kind of play with all these designed runs, I don't know. But it was just a train wreck of a season for both of those quarterbacks.
Yeah. And it's like, I want to pick one or the other, but a part of me believes that, like, Joe Flacco is still going to be the quarterback at the Colts point in time. I feel like Joe Flacco is still going to start more games than both these guys this year. Like, somehow, some way, he's just going to get in there and he's going to just sling it for 4 touchdowns a game and then just go back to his couch, man, and watch. What do you think Joe Flacco watches on TV? He seems like
all 22 film.
No, he seems like
That guy is like, he's watching TLC and the Food or the Home Network.
He's watching MASH
He's just
reruns.
killing, man.
MASH
man.
reruns in black and
All
white.
right. Let me just ask you for Richardson. I think these are almost a given at this point, but in Dynasty, do you want Richardson or Fields?
Fields.
Yeah.
Fields,
I
right?
recently kind of tiered around with AR and Fields, to try to even out a little bit. I think I'm up to like 50% exposure on Fields, down to like 30-ish with AR. I love my rushing dual threat quarterbacks, though. That's kind of one of my things. I've been on that.
Yeah, if they're doing it the right way and they have job security, which is always the worst, case scenario with guys that are rushing quarterbacks. Like they have the highest ceiling, but they have the least amount of job security typically. What about Richardson and Darnold? Who do you want out of those two guys in Dynasty?
I'll
Dave.
take Darnold.
Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah. All right. One more for you. Richardson or Russell Wilson?
Richardson. I think Russ is cooked.
Yeah,
Oh, dude.
agree.
What if
God.
Russ is going to have a job this year?
Yeah.
He's gonna start somewhere. There's not enough quarterbacks currently out there, and then in the draft, because you think you have Cam, Shador. I'll put Dart in there too as starters. And then how many teams need a quarterback right now? Steelers,
Browns,
Browns, Giants, the Colts.
The Cardinals
know.
need a quarterback.
Whoa, dude.
They're good.
You're on a Kyler Murray pod right now, brother.
Mute him.
Easy.
I just like to pick on him because he's tiny and they have to boot him out so he can throw the football. That's all.
He is a success story when it comes to rushing quarterbacks. So we'll just put him in a different category. All right, we're gonna sign off, boys. But before we do that, Dustin, drop the name of your new pod that we're going to be debuting on Dynasty Degens. Let people know what it is.
The podcast is going to be called Third and Dynasty. We're going to be bringing around different people from, the industry, data guys, film guys, old head guys, new people, just really come together, talk football, and then figure out how to take football talk like it used to be and bring that into Dynasty, bring that into fantasy, and, just have good time, talk ball, man. That's why we're all here. We all came here because we love football. And I want to yap about football and help people win some money and some championships, man. That's what it is.
Yeah, man. Well, I love having you as part of the team, as part of the family, the Dynasty Degens family. I think we're going to do a lot together and have a lot of fun doing it. So I can't wait to sit down with you and kind of get together and really hash out the details and and get things cooking with that. As far as what we're doing over on Dynasty Degens right now, I have a rookie profile of Ashton Genty. So Genty's going to drop tomorrow, and that's with Shane P. Hallam. I hope I'm saying your last name right, brother. I think it's Hallam. I want to say Hallam, but I think it's Hallam. Shane P. Hallam of Draft Sharks. So that's what we're going to be dropping tomorrow, probably about 8 a.m. Eastern time. And then next week I'm with Degen's own Jagger. So Jagger May is going to be on, and we're going to be covering Travis Hunter. So Travis Hunter is going to be dropping next week. And then obviously we have Debbie Degens debuting next Monday as well. So we're making a comeback with a couple pods, and it's going to be a fun time. Dane, you got anything cooking for us right now?
Yeah, I got a little bit of process work I've been doing. I've been trying to type it out and get that into the Discord. And that's about it, man. I want to say thanks to everybody for watching and joining in on the comments and making this a little bit more exciting for us tonight.
Hell yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate it, everybody, and I hope you guys have a good night. We'll catch you next week.